I'm gonna give you the birth story today. I think it all started on October 31st, that Friday. That night, Eric and I had a conversation about it didn't matter if I was going to have the baby at the birthing center or the hospital, no matter what, I'd be meeting our little guy in a week. And after we had that conversation, I took a bath and I relaxed, and I think just releasing that energy really helped move things along. And then that night, we went to bed really late. It was 3 a.m. when we went to bedtime. Eric usually gets home pretty late, and then we sleep in till noon usually, but I didn't get to sleep that morning, so that proved a problem later on. But we went to bed at 3 a.m. I woke up at 5 a.m. and I realized I lost my mucus plug, so I was really excited about that, but I was able to go back to bed. At 8 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and I had some mild cramping going on, and I told Eric about it. And so we slept for a little longer, and then at 10:30 we woke up. We just couldn't sleep anymore, and that's when we decided to go for a walk around a local park. And it has like this half-mile loop, so we did 3 loops, and I had about 3 contractions each loop. They weren't that bad. They were my first real contractions. I could walk and talk through them no problem though, so nothing really major yet. And then right after we did that, we went to the grocery store about 12 o'clock, and we were walking around the grocery store, and I had a couple more contractions there, and those ones were a little more intense. I remember leaning over the grocery cart at one point, breathing through some contractions, and Eric actually snapped a picture of me doing that. About that at the end of the video for you guys. After we were done grocery shopping, Eric, we came home and he made me some chicken parm, and that was the last real meal I had. And then after that, I convinced Eric that he should go to work because my contractions were only 10 to 15 minutes apart, when we needed them to be like at 5 minutes apart was what we were told. So they weren't anything close together, and I was pretty tired, and I told him I was just going to sleep anyway just because we didn't get any sleep the night before. So I convinced him, so he went in, and I immediately took a nap as soon as he left, and I slept for 2 full hours. So that was really good. And when I woke up, I just kind of stayed laying down because I knew if I was going to be in labor for the night that it was going to be just a long night if I didn't rest at that point. So I was resting all I could early on. And I know that I talked to my sister at one point, my sister Amanda. She had texted me, and it was just too hard to text back. I didn't have the patience for it, so I called her. And I had a couple contractions on the phone, and it freaked her out. She was like, "Call Eric, tell him to come home." And then I was FaceTiming with my friend Erin, and she had me download the contraction timing app, and I started using that so I could track them a little bit more and see that I was making progress. Nothing to call Eric about yet, but I kept texting him like screenshots of like what was going on with that so he would be informed. And then about 8 o'clock, Eric was talking to his bosses, and they're like, "Go home, you need to go home." So he got home about 8:30, and I was hungry at that point, so he made me a smoothie, and that was a smoothie that I never ate. It actually sat in the fridge for a couple of days. Oh well. At 9:20 that night, we called Leslie, our midwife, and she said that she wanted me to get closer to a 3-1-1 scenario where my contractions were every 3 minutes, lasting a minute for 1 hour, and at that point I wasn't that close to it. In fact, my contractions never got up to a minute in that early stage. The longest they'd last was 45 seconds. But she told us to call her back in about an hour and a half and update her on what was going on. So, we just kind of rested, and, Eric would help me with contractions and all of that. And then at 11:30 that night, we called again, and she said that I still wasn't where she wanted me to be, so we stayed home a little longer, and that's when we decided to take showers. Eric wanted to get the smell of work off of him, especially if he's going to be close up next to me all night, and I just wanted to relax a little with the hot water, so I got in the shower as well. And then after that, it was about 12:30 a.m., so Sunday, November 2nd at that point, and that's when we called Leslie and we headed towards the birthing center. The car ride there was awful. I was car sick and having contractions, and I never recommend that for anyone. I was afraid to go early on. Like, I kept telling Eric it wasn't close enough yet because I was afraid I was going to have to make car rides several times, and I knew that was going to be just awful, but thankfully when we got there, we were able to stay. When we did get there, Leslie checked me, and I was dilating from a 5 to a 6, and she said since it was so late and we both seemed so tired that Eric and I should go up and crawl in bed and just kind of relax and see if my contractions picked up any. And then about 1:35 in the morning, our friend Lynn showed up. She was there as like a backup for Eric, and it really helped him out. I know at one point Eric was able to take a nap while Lynn helped me out, and I know that helped him because he did not get any sleep at all. My contractions weren't getting any closer together though, so Leslie suggested that I try some walking. So I was doing this weird like lunge walk thing, and then every time I'd have a contraction, I'd put all my body weight on Eric, and we'd sway my hips around or do like a hula hoop kind of motion, just through the contractions to hopefully help move our little guy down a little bit more. And then I also was doing some pelvic rocks, and I was on the birthing ball, and I was just doing that for a very long time. And then about 4:30, 5 o'clock-ish in the morning is when Leslie checked me again, and I was dilated at 8, so I was definitely making progress. And we found out the bag of waters was bulging, and our little guy's head was cockeyed. So she suggested to keep working at it, so I kept walking, and I was on that birthing ball forever. And I know she suggested a shower at one point, because I had said in my birthing plan that I love water and it helps me relax, but we didn't want to get me in the birthing tub because we were afraid since my contractions weren't close enough together that it might slow things down even more so. But she said a shower would be okay, but I just never felt like I'd been making progress in there. I felt I was making more progress doing my crazy lunge dance around the circular rug. And then we just kept working. I know I was on the birthing ball when the shift change came. At 8 o'clock, Leslie was done with her shift, and the midwife Terry came on, and it was great that she was there because she was still in orientation, and that meant she had to have another midwife with her, so Amy was there with her. And that's also when the nurse showed up, Portia, and having those 3 women there for the actual delivery proved to be a lot of strength later on. It was hard to see Leslie go, but she definitely helped us out in the early part, and we got the other 3 ladies for the end part. Yeah, and then things got a little blurry around then. Lynn left around 9 a.m. She's crazy. She had to go back to work. She got off her shift that night bartending, spent all night with Eric and I, and then the next morning went back to bartending again. She's crazy, but she wasn't able to see the little guy get born, but oh well. She helped out with a lot. Yeah, and I know at some point Terry checked me again, and she suggested that we break the bag of waters. And she weighed the pros and cons with us, and overall, since I wasn't progressing past that 8 and I'd been working for a long time, we decided that it would be a good idea. So we did that, and she was able to feel his head a little bit more, and she explained to us that his head, she could almost feel his ear, so he should have been engaged more back here, but he was more engaged on the side of his head, right by his ear. So he was still cockeyed, so she suggested that I go and do some like crazy lunges on the stairs, and I was doing that, and I was resting on the birthing ball between lunges, and I was doing like inverted pelvic rocks and everything, just trying to reposition the baby, and I was doing that for quite some time. I have no idea how long exactly. But eventually she suggested that I seemed tired and worn out, so try another rest. And she had me lying exaggerated on my side to maybe help shift him. And Eric said that I took some black cohosh before we lied down too. I know that came in hand with the contractions that came up after that. But I also took some homeopathic like sugar pills that were supposed to change the baby's position. I took them twice, but I don't know if those worked at all. But I took the black cohosh, and we went down on the bed, and Eric said we slept for about 15 minutes, and I woke up and I had contractions just bam, bam, bam right on top of each other, like 3 or 4 in a row, and they just did not let up in between at all. So I said I really needed to go to the bathroom, and I went to the bathroom, and bam, 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 3 contractions on top of each other again. And Eric realized I was in transition, so he went and got Terry, and Terry came in and got me from the bathroom, and it was probably about 11 o'clock in the morning at that point, because that's when I started pushing, and I know I was pushing for an hour and 45 minutes-ish, so it's about 11 o'clock in the morning, and yeah, I just started pushing, and I know I was on my back in the bed for a long time, you know, and I had Eric right next to me, and then Amy was right here, and then Terry was right in front of me, and then Portia was on this side, and it was just like this love surrounding me, and yeah, just so much encouragement, just like all the people yelling, push, 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 every time a contraction would come on, and it really helped. They gave me their energy that I didn't have anymore. I know at some point in the middle of all of that, they wanted me to get down and squat and push, so it was a 4-poster bed, and I'd hold on to a post, and I'd bend down and squat, but I guess between each squat I was supposed to be staying down, but I'd get back up because it just hurt to stay squatting. I just don't have the muscles to do that. So they eventually had me get back into bed after like 4 or 5 contractions of trying that. But I got back in the bed, and every push I made progress. I never said I couldn't do it. I never said that I wanted to quit. All I kept asking was, you know, how much longer? I'm so tired. I'm so tired. And they just kept telling me, you're so strong. It's okay. You can keep going. It's not going to be much longer. And yeah, they were monitoring the baby's heartbeat in between every contraction, and he was doing great. And then right at the very end there, I remember, because I was listening to the heartbeat too, of course, how could I not? It slowed down a lot. So I just remember Terry looking at me, and she said, Elizabeth, you don't have any contractions right now, but you just need to push, and you can't stop pushing. And I pushed, and he came out all at once, and Eric was able to catch him, and we brought him up to my belly, and they gave him 2 puffs of air right away, just because he was a little gurgly. And yeah, we were holding him for a while, and then I remember they were listening to his lungs, and they didn't like all the fluid that was in there, so they decided to give him a suctioning, so Eric went out when they did that. And then he came back in, and he was breastfeeding almost right away, and Eric and I were in pure bliss, and we looked at each other, and we kind of chitter-chattered about what his name was going to be, and that's when we decided it was going to be Ari Evan. Eric had been set on that name forever, and I had been pretty set on it too, but I just wanted to make sure it was right for him. He's our little lion. Yeah, we were just in pure bliss. Still are. Eric wanted to add to all of this for the video that he was amazed with me the whole time, that I didn't cry once, and I didn't ask for any kind of medication. For me, overall, with the whole experience, I just took it moment by moment. I didn't think about the pain that I had been through or the pain that I was going to go through. I just took one contraction at a time. It was totally worth it. I would do it all over again the same. I hate medications. I do not like hospitals. And so having a natural birth the way that we wanted was perfect, you know. I never got in the water or anything, but we were flexible, and it came out the way it was supposed to. And we're just very happy and very blessed. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the birthing story. All right. Bye, guys.